We are live. Welcome everyone in the episode 130 of UmbraCoffee. We're joined today by
2.5 years worth of episodes.
Oh damn it! A long time again. But we are not stopping. We're not doing any changes here, and we're joined today by Phil from HiFi agency. Hi Phil, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, we are fine. We were trying to catch up the last week's episode. I was away. I was away, and I wanted to catch up, but it was 1 hour long. Callum, what happened?
I don't know what to say. It was an hour long. I'm sorry. It's a movie. I will personally reimburse anyone for the popcorn that they needed.
But to prove something, we've been just talking before going live here today that there's a room for episodes like that. And obviously, same as today, Phil, with you, there are some topics which requires longer explanations and longer discussions and coverage. So it's not like it was on purpose. It's not like it's like something what is not valuable. Definitely, there are some topics like that which needs to be explained in the more detailed manner. But
it just requires a longer attention span.
As well, yeah. Cool. How was your week, guys? Busy?
Busy.
Yeah. Really busy, as always.
Yeah. I wanted to start from something. What happened today? I was not aware that I can do that. I just
Disable GitHub.
Perfectly aligned in time. I clicked this disable button of the new features on GitHub, and the whole GitHub went away. So sorry again. I wasn't meant to do that. It's back again. So
and as I tweeted this morning, like it was 9:30. I pushed a bunch of code and then suddenly it all went down. I was like, what? This would be the time, like 3 o'clock on a Friday where you go, oh, forget it, let's go to the pub. But you can't really do that at 9:30.
Yeah, but to be honest, it reminded me one funny story because we were running some kind of campaigns in the past, and someone messaged me on Facebook saying that, oh, I submitted a form with some feedback and your site went down. Sorry, I didn't meant to do that. And I said, no, it was me. I was doing the deployment then. But yeah, thanks for messaging me. So yeah, GitHub is back. We are back on track. And we have a bunch of updates, of course, from various sources, demos, releases. But first of them was released probably after UmbraCoffee last week, and it was a product update from Umbraco side. Again, summarizing what's happening, what happened in the HQ during the last period of time. Of course, you've been talking about Umbraco Uno last week, and there is some kind of more details about what it is in general, what's the plan for extending it, and how it will be evolving, what Umbraco is working on right now and next, which is great to know. Plus some other upgrades from the various teams and locations of the Umbraco HQ. What guys excites you the most from those updates?
The thing that I find awesome here is that they've ported a JavaScript plugin to C#. So they're actually creating non-Umbraco open source contributions to the wider open source community, which is nice. This was used, I think, in Hardcore, this specific plugin.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and actually, the thing that I like here was there's a little bit more insight into the roadmap. There was a lot of discussion over the weekend and earlier this week about what the roadmap means, how much stuff should be on the roadmap. I think there's 15 items in the doing section of that roadmap. But I think it's just it's interesting to see where HQ's kind of investing their time. And I think as well, there was a bit of confusion about how balanced the roadmap might be. But I don't think each of the items on the roadmap are necessarily equal in effort. Like .NET Core being one thing and some updates to Uno being another. But the product update was great to kind of highlight some of the other stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I've started a long discussion as well about this balance here, and it's great to have a hear back and inputs from HQ side as well, that it's not like that it's only Uno or something like that. It's a lot of
changed, because I think .NET Core was one thing before, but now it's being split into 3 separate tasks.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that earlier in the week, but maybe that reflects the kind of balance of effort a little bit better.
Yeah, that's great to see. Plus, we had an upgrades from package team and the documentation team, with some details of the movements happening in the teams directly. And I don't know if you've mentioned that last week or we've talked about it previously, but some recordings from Code Patch went live on YouTube.
Yes.
And it's on the Umbraco community channel, which might not be announced that loudly yet. So
not hugely well known. I was asking last week for a Code Patch playlist of all the videos. I don't know if that's been created, but yeah, we did discuss it briefly.
Okay, that's fine then.
Documentation. Your awesome lightning speed talk is there, Marcin?
Yes, I know. I need to.
You squished a 45-minute talk into 20 minutes by speaking double speed.
I really wanted to see that, actually. That's one of the things I want to see from Code Patch, but I missed it. I was painting a wall and realised it was going. So, but if you'd like to do that talk, if you could get the 45 minutes out of it, I'm sure that Umbraco Leeds or Umbraco Manchester would be interested in seeing it. We're always interested in new talks. Sorry, I'm plugging those two now.
It's all right. I have it in my calendar to do it in June live as a webinar, as a kind of free talk. So yeah, it's on my to-do list. I will happily do it. Not in 15 minutes because it was really run through the doc. But yeah, that's great. And from this diary, it's mentioning the Code Patch, but also what caught my attention, it was a mini retreat, and I thought, oh, the retreat happened. And in this case, Sophie just decided to gather the all documentation curators team and just go through some of the things like we used to do it on the retreats and like Umbraco used to do on the retreats. So addressing, fixing ad hoc issues and general problems just on the go without wasting time on planning, thinking, and aligning it somewhere in the schedule and time, which is great. So again, great teamwork. And output of the activities from Umbraco side in this case. Cool. So that's directly from the HQ. We have a lot of other things about packages and things after that. But Phil, as we have you here today, we've been mentioning your great work and things about Yuzu in a couple of the past umbraCoffees. So can you share us more about what it is and because it caught my attention, this beautiful site titled Balance.
Really nice.
And the title of today's episode is Working in Balance with Umbraco.
That's good.
Tell us more about Yuzu, about working in balance, and about the whole project right now.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened was we've been using Umbraco for about 5 years, and when we first started using it, I worked with this front end developer who said, I really don't want to work in Visual Studio. So I want to use things in my Mac. So I want to disconnect things. So we disconnected it and ran Umbraco like that. And we ran like that for quite a while. And what it ended up with was this disconnected pattern library. And we started, as we used it more and more, we started to realize that this is actually quite a nice and special thing. And then we started to talk to people about in the community about it. I started to do a few talks and got some really great feedback from people on it. So really it was about trying to see what I could do to help other people to use it and to get its great advantages, because really it's become something that's changed our life. It's made the production of these sites a lot easier for us. And I'm really excited by that and wanted to share with it. And yeah, there's a commercial element to it, but it's more about helping people to improve how they produce Umbraco sites, and that's what I'm interested in. And helping front-end developers to use it and to work with Umbraco as well, because it can be a little bit daunting at the start when you first look at it. So
the thing that I find hugely impressive with this is, as an Umbraco developer, it's a completely different paradigm of working with Umbraco, because you're working kind of data model first, front end data model first, rather than creating doc types and then trying to mash that into a front end. And the way you're defining schema and everything as well is totally different. It may be alien to some people.
Yeah, and that's one of the difficulties that I've got, really. It is quite alien, and it's quite it is a paradigm shift in the way of thinking about these things, and really a lot of the systems out there are they're based around taking a thing and then adapting to it, rather than taking a site and creating a production model around it, which is kind of what I'm interested in doing. So producing the UI and then integrated it into Umbraco and then delivering it. And if you can get all those three strings working together, then it opens up a lot more possibilities. And we've been talking to Callum and various other people about how far we take this and whether we can kind of extend it outside of the handlebars that we're using at the minute to make it even more compelling and interesting. So
if I'm understanding this correctly, to kind of explain it in layman's terms, I as a front-end developer can create a JSON definition of what I want my data to look like, and I can write handlebars templates. So normal HTML, just chuck some handlebars in there for binding my data, and I do my CSS and my front end and everything I'd normally do, and I've got a working Umbraco site.
Pretty much, yeah, definitely. That's what we're aiming for a content-led site, and then that's what we want to get to. And the idea behind it is this data thing, this schema that describes the UI is the thing that moves throughout the entire system. So that's the core to everything, and everything sits on top of that, really. And we battled this. It felt so alien for us. We fought against it for years, really. And then eventually we decided to just give in and embrace the weirdness of it. And the benefits have been quite phenomenal, really, and what we've been able to achieve.
Yeah, I remember discussions about it during the UK festival, probably, or some other events as well. And you've been demoing some of it already in the past. So go forward and show it us.
Okay. So I'll work out how to share my screens and share the right screens. So okay.
Yeah, just okay. See that. Yeah. Okay, I can see it. Add to stream. Yep, and we see your correct screen.
So this is our user page. Yep. So everything starts in the way that we produce sites with this. It's a Trello board that we set things up. So every block gets created like this, and we've got this schema language that we've developed internal to make it really easy to describe the dynamicity of the thing that we're creating. And the documentation goes into more details about those. But the idea is that in a meeting, we set all this up and we cut up the sites for you. And then if I get the right thing, we go into our application after we've just created it. And we say user def import. And what that does is it goes to the Trello board and it pulls things in and it generates and scaffolds up the front end application for us. Now, if I pull in the other side, and what we want to do with that is, the problem that we had was that actually it's quite verbose, the stuff that you're creating, and it took us quite a while to create it. So we wanted an easy way to generate it. So we go in here and it's created all of these. Yeah. And it worked perfectly well this morning, and it's just broken on me. That's typical. So absolutely typical. But the idea is that it generates everything for you. So it will generate all the HTML files. It'll generate everything. So if I pull in a different version, I can show you what it's actually created.
So that HTML that it's generated is just relatively simple Bootstrap-esque markup. So
that's it. The HTML that it's generated under the hood is what we do is we take all those elements. So I'll try and create something else here so you can actually see it. Yeah.
Those looks are coming from handlebars, right? That's the templating engine for that. That's really cool. And I can just speak in the position of front end developers that they will understand it. That's definitely the way how they can put it forward and extract another blocks and just make it work.
Yeah, okay. No, just give me 2 seconds. It's typical, isn't it?
So whilst you're working that out, so the Trello thing's awesome. In fact, as part of our April Fool's episode, I joked how cool. Well, I think I said that someone had released a CLI, so you could just say, "Give me a website, give me a homepage. I want a blog," and it would just create it. And you've kind of built that. Your instructions are defined in Trello cards, which is nice because as a company, as a team, that might be the way you work. But I assume because it's just generating these JSON schema files, you could do that manually if you weren't using Trello, for example. Yes,
yeah, you could, and that's what we do. So the idea is that we get to the point where you just end up with a very simple implementation. So what we do is we go around the schema and we work out what all the standard things. So we create, for a list, we create an LI. For a property, we create the property. For a title, we create an href and all of those things. So the idea is that you get to the point of the site initially. When the front end has dropped into it, then really they need to tweak things, because what you end up with is all your property names attached to you. And we even do things like attaching the BEM stubs behind it, so that you just need to, and create the BEM files as well behind it. So all you need to
generating style sheets.
We're not. The only thing that we can't create is a style sheets. So so the whole thing that we can't create in this process is the style. So, and that's the only manual part to this now as the whole process.
You said about creating the BEM stubs. Is that, you mean the class names?
So we create the class names. Yeah.
So as a front end dev, I then go in and I create the styles for those class names, and it's all wired up.
Yes, and you create that, and it's all wired up.
It reminds me the Django and any kind of Rails scaffolding like that you generate the template.
Okay, so
extend,
So I can show you an example here now, and this is what it's produced. This is the HTML that it's produced from that schema file. Yeah. And it'll handle loops, it'll handle everything. So, and it's put in all the BEM stubs behind it for you there. Yep. And then put in the stub file. So all the front ender needs to do is go in and fill that for each of them. And we've done a project on this recently where what's ended up is that the front ender came in and they tweaked this, and what we got back was pretty much what we'd actually generated. And he just applied styles to it, which is a very, very cool thing to be able to do.
The thing I like here is I'm a big fan of, one, consistency, and two, kind of following patterns properly. This literally enforces that pattern. So it says you will use BEM and you will have files named in a certain way and classes named in a certain way, and it makes the code base far, far more maintainable.
Yes. And we have this saying at HiFi of don't give the developer enough rope to hang themselves.
Yeah, that's good. But that also relates to my question, which I wanted to ask you, because we are all seeing that, agile or waterfall approaches or things like that. When front end, for example, came first in some of the projects before the backend is being even developed or integrated. How's your flow looking right now when you are using Yuzu? Because I know that you were using it for some of the projects already. So any changes comes in from, for example, in front end or back end, which are causing the change on the schema, for example. Is it all possible? Is it works like in circles for you?
Yeah. So the way that we work is we either go into the Trello board and we create a new block in there and it'll drop it in, so we can create for a list only, or we can create it. We've got a CLI which will allow us to create it as a basic block that's empty. But the way that we work now is you say that a lot of people it's front end do the job, they get the design, they do the job, and then they pass it to the back end people. Well, we don't really work like that, because as soon as you've got the schema there, generated, then we can create the Umbraco instance underneath it. Which means that we work in parallel completely.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah,
and back end dev saves you some time. So you're saying you're generating the Umbraco stuff as well off these definitions. So I don't have to go, as a backend dev, don't have to go in and create the properties and wire all of that up.
Yeah. And I can show you that here next, and I hope this one works a little bit better than the last demo.
Did you sacrifice a goat before the episode?
Not quite. It was a mouse. Maybe I should have gone higher. So, okay. So what we have here is a site that I've set up, and I will just start debugging on that.
So that is a standard Umbraco site with Yuzu installed.
Yep. That's a standard Umbraco site with Yuzu installed. And what I'm going to do...
There's only one thing different I noticed, which was there's a Yuzu folder.
Yes, there is a Yuzu folder. So this is a blank site, completely blank. If I go into this...
The guy with his email has too many notifications.
Yeah, poor guy.
Poor guy.
Okay, so what we need to do now is go into here, and there's a new section that I've created called User Interface Integration. Yep. Mm-hmm. And if we go into, there's a view models builder that looks suspiciously like the standard models builder on purpose. Yep. And I press that button there, and it's gone away and it's generated all my view models. So if I go into here and reopen that, and you'll see there's some view models generated in there. So if I include that into the project and build it.
So those are C# representations of what's in the JSON.
Yes, so those are C# representations of the schema files underneath it that have been generated by the Trello side. Yeah. So just refresh that.
And then I assume that means you've got a model where in backend code, you'll bind your data to that model. That model gets serialized to JSON, which then matches the JSON schema that you had defined previously. And so nicely integrates with your UI.
Yeah, so it's literally just from the front end using to define everything else underneath it. So if I go into user integrate here, which is now, and a lot of this data, when it comes through, there's more view models than we need. So there's sub-objects, there's stuff that so what I'm going to do here is the first step is to tidy that up, to take all those sub-objects and just to combine them to create nice document types underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course, UI it ideally matches the V8 workflow and editorial process here, right?
Yeah, and that's generated all the initial sort of document types. So pulled in all those sections and cleaned things up a little bit, and now I'm generating all the other ones as well. So all the standard ones.
So what we're seeing here is we've taken the JSON, mapped that to C# classes. Those C# classes are then registered as your definitions, and here you're then mapping those C# definitions to Umbraco document types and processes.
So I'm using those view models, the definitions of those view models that have been tidied up a little bit to generate all the document types and all the data types within the system.
Wow. And this, I guess, works in a partial way as well. So if I was to go and add one thing, do another model regenerate, and then can rerun, it will work out what's different. Yeah.
Well, if we've got time for that, I can actually show you that happening in a demo.
Do it.
Yeah. So okay. I could show you the entire site working here, but we're probably limited for time. And actually get into the point of, do you want me to do that, or do you want me to show you the next stage?
Let's see the next stage.
Right. Okay. So if I pull in another site here, so
this site you're showing us is basically one you've done all of the import. You've maybe created some content.
Yeah.
You're up and running.
So basically, this is the next stage of the process. So I've moved from that creation of all the document types, and I create some template types to it, and I import the content as well on top of it. And so we've got a process within there which allows us to take the JSON from the other side and import that into the content types that I've just generated. Yep. So you end up with a fully working site, which is what we can see here. Yeah.
Nice.
And what I've got here is a little block that's not been updated that I need to change. So if I go into the right thing. Yeah. So here I've got my block that I need to add something to. So if I go into my schema here, then I add a new one called text. And then I add to here the thing, a new item for this. So just some handlebars. And then I add in some text into the JSON just to make it complete.
So this is the content representation in this case, right? That's
But
this is
a stub.
Yep.
So this is so I can develop locally with Yuzu, but later this content is actually going to come from the CMS.
Yeah. So this is so that I can play around with this as a front end developer to see how state impacts the design, which is a really cool thing to be able to do. And you can see that here. So just boot up Gulp, which is what we're using underneath the hood.
I don't know if you're sharing the correct screen.
Yeah.
That's
so yeah. What it's going to do here now is, so this is our front end setup. So what we've just done is added that piece of text here. Yep.
Nice.
Does that make sense? Yep. And all I need to do now is go into my here and do gulp dist and send that. So this is going to package everything up with the typical errors you usually get on these things. And then I go into my Umbraco side, get the right one. And you'll notice that the About Us section doesn't contain this text thing. So if I go back into Umbraco, I'll go into Umbraco. And recreate my view models. So view model builder. Into there, and you'll see that that's paired, that text build.
It looks like it requires some of the same steps to perform some actions, and you probably got used to it. And after a while, it's a totally new workflow. And I assume that it shortened the path for you and for your agency to deliver the solutions and changes like that.
Well, I'm working with other developers on this now, external developers, and recently did a production job of a 5-page content site for them, and we shaved 3-day dev time. So here's the thing. Yeah, I'll just add this. So you create it. Yeah, and what that's done is created the property underneath the hood. Yeah. Go in, not click members, and do my models builder again. And rebuild. Of course, if I could get Pure Live working with it, then none of this would matter at all.
You don't want to mess with Pure Live. it's a massive hack.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay,
so we did
the process is effectively the exact same as creating a new type versus adding a new type. And because in this case, the front end files are shared, you've already added the handlebars in there to render it.
Yeah.
You've now mapped the property over.
Yeah.
You populate it with some content. You view the page, and it's there.
And it's there. And this is where I cross my fingers doing a live demo, which I never do. And there you go.
Hey.
It worked. Yeah.
Wow. So minutes to add a property from front end definition to having content visible on the front end of your Umbraco site, literally minutes.
And there's two things I want to talk about that. So I was just saying a minute ago that we've been working in a production site with a colleague, with a friend of mine, on one of his sites, and we run the whole process for him. So we did the blocking exercise for him for a couple of hours, and then we gave it to his front end developer who had never seen it, gave him 45 minutes training on it. He came back and asked some questions a little bit, and then I never heard from him again. And the site was finished over the next 4 or 5 days. I sat down with the Umbraco guy, and we had a full working site ready for him to tweak and change and add all the niceness in the back office in about an hour and a half.
Wow.
And that's training.
Yeah.
So we took 3 days of development time and we converted it into an hour and a half. And I can do the same process in about 7 minutes. So
yeah, that's impressive. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And it's all up to understanding how it works and getting used to it, probably.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned that you did some examples and work with some well-known examples of the sites. For example, Vendor. You've mentioned Vendor in the before we went live. Is that the same way?
Yes. So before we do that, I'd like to show you something else. There's a little bit of a demo I'd like to take you through, if that's okay. Yeah. Have we got enough time?
Yeah, we've got about 5 more minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're concerned with is trying to get external data on, which is what leads to the vendor stuff. So if I go back into my settings here, and then go back into my integrate, and what I want to do is I want to impact this outside of Umbraco. So if I go into my info section and click on this button here, now what this is going to do is it's going to create a little stub, of C# in my code underneath it. Yep. So if I go back into here and click on there, what it's done is it's generated this piece of code here. Yep.
Nice.
Actually, I've done the wrong one. Let me just do that again.
That's effectively the interface that you're going to need to implement to map custom data or just do any kind of mapping logic between an Umbraco entity and your view model. Or an entity in your view model.
So what that's done is it's done against a property. So you can do it against a property, or you can do it against a property. So this is against a property. So if I go, say, build it. And refresh.
Not included in your solution.
This is not included in my solution. Okay.
Yeah. What kind of mapper did you use in?
It's auto mapper under the hood, but you can use basically. It's very externalized, so you can swap it out for anything, which is a big conversation that I've had with Callum. So then a refresh.
So that's if you want to automatically map stuff, but you could decide within the mapping logic to do whatever the hell you want, call off to an API, anything.
Yeah, that's really nice.
And it's not worked as usual. But this is why I don't do live demos. Yeah, but that's the idea behind it. So I'll show you here. I have a working site. So this is a site that I've spent the last couple of days building. So the last couple of days basically taking Vendor, the demo site, and moving it across into Yuzu land, basically. So whilst that boots up, I'll show you some code. So there it is. And this doesn't involve any live demos, thankfully. Mm-hmm. So I've split everything into separates. And I have all my mapping logic here. So if I go into something that I'll understand. So this is a product summary. So all I'm doing here is I'm taking the products page, that you get from Umbraco, which is the thing that's linked into Vendor, and I've got my product summary view model from the other side.
Just to clarify, that's a models builder generated model, and your user-generated view model.
Yeah, and what it's doing is it's filling all the things like the name and all the stuff that's basically in Umbraco, that's controlled by Umbraco. And then I'm taking that before it gets rendered, and I'm running this little bit of code, which allows you to play around with it, allows you to change it before it gets rendered, which means you can do anything to it. Yeah. And for us, that means the UI becomes like this interface. It's an API. You don't actually really mind what's in it at all. You're just consuming it. You're just using it, and that's really exciting for us.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. That's and code doesn't look like that complicated, and we can get used to the work like that. And I saw a lot of implementations like that done for the API layers before the content being served, and templating blocks and stuff like that is the future of the development. And we are getting back to 90s with the static HTMLs at the end. With
exactly. And what I'm trying to do here is people do this already, and this is kind of common practice. So you create your view, and then the back office developer creates a view model to mean that the view isn't polluted. Yeah. But what I'm doing is saying that the front end developer creates all of that view logic. Yep. And the back office developer just reacts to that instead, rather than them generating the view model.
I think this is very cool. And as Marcin said, like we've gone full circle. We've come back to keeping it really simple. But I think this is quite on trend as well, because we've seen, as with last week's Uno release, which is maybe kind of tackling this problem from the opposite perspective, which is I'm an editor and I don't really want to have to write code. I want to be able to configure everything. You have kind of a modular setup, compared to this, where it's I'm a front-end developer. I don't want to have to care about Umbraco. And kind of having this framework to get up and running quickly with limited or no code, but having the option there to extend things and go further. And it's where I know Niels did a blog post a couple of weeks back where he kind of shared that Umbraco developers should stop having to do the same stuff. And someone said to me the other day, as a CMS developer, I just feel like I'm rolling out the same change all the time. But this actually allows you, as the CMS developer, to focus on the fun bits, the integration and all of that sort of stuff. And as a front-end developer, you can focus on the stuff you care about and not all the other stuff in between.
Because one of the things that we're concerned about, especially with the way that things are going, is, and we found this with our positional content package that we released last 18 months ago or something like that, is that the model behind it is actually really complicated. What's happening there is there's a lot going on there. But what we tend to do now, and one of the things that we've got in Yuzu, is a data structure, which allows you to simplify that process. So we've said that we get the front-end developers to create the schema and to push that across, but we've got a way for us as Umbraco developers to create what we call a data definition, which the front-end developers use to integrate back in. So we use that to make positional content easier to use. So the front-end developers, they use that structure to define things, and then when it gets pushed through, it generates all the positional content elements for you, so that as a back office developer, you don't need to understand anything about that. That's really, really powerful. And we're planning to develop data structures and packages around that to allow us to do things like integrate into things like Bento. So I was looking at Bento this morning. That's a complicated thing, but personally, somebody who loves CSS Grid and the flexibility it gives, it would be a perfect solution for this, because it'll take all the complexity out of it and enable somebody that's doing the front end to not really care about the implementation of Bento at the back office, or to get it up and running for them, but then to just use it. and to become transparent, which is incredibly powerful from our perspective.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot to deal with and a lot to understand. But you've created this great site, which I mentioned at the beginning, which highlights all the ways how to use it, all the packages available right now, and a great video as well, highlighting some of the information you've already shared with us today. So everyone who is interested, just play with it, just check it out if it's something for maybe your workflow, or if you suffer from lack of workflow, is also something worth checking to establish some patterns and save some time. So,
and if you if at the bottom of that page as well, we're working with the community as well. So we're collaborating with agencies. There are a couple of agencies. If you go to the bottom of the page, so we're collaborating with agencies. We're working with other agencies in production and giving them training, and we're also doing outsourced work. If you've got a wireframe, or if you've got a design that you want integrated into this, we'll work with you as best practice. So really excited about where it's taking us.
Yeah. Big high five, you rock, for doing that and sharing it all finally, because I know you've been doing it for a long time before it went live.
Yes, I have been doing it for a long time. The key was to get that last bit, this bit that I've just showed you for the vendor thing. So that was what I was talking to Callum about, to try and get that manual mapping bit as easy as possible to do.
Nice. Cool. That's a good and really valuable demo. But also, speaking about simplicity, you kind of mentioned this blog post from Niels a while ago, and Uno is the new user is definitely a simplicity for some of the other approaches. But also, we've seen another theme being launched this week, which gives us another shortened path to do something more with Umbraco 8. And this is, I thought that, Phil, when you were sharing the demo, because it had a name Amplify as well there. That is a kind of combination of both, but really is the Amplify theme, right?
This is more competing with Uno rather than Phil. As I said, like this yours is from the exact opposite perspective. But the idea of getting a site up and running quicker, focusing on the things that matter, I think is valuable. And Matt has done here a really slick job with this. It looks super professional as a kind of theme getting started on Umbraco, and I'm sure as his Bulma starter kit's been really successful, this will be as well.
Yeah, that's really great to see, and looks like themes for WordPress and other sites like that, when you are really complete in terms of having blocks to build the exact site. So I'm really tempted to check it out, how it looks for Umbraco, and see it running in the back office world, because it's exactly something for what some of the projects were looking for, and definitely such as Uno and this theme and UMakers themes and stuff like that. It's all created for people who are looking for shortcuts in some of the cases, and this one looks extremely well as well. Cool. We had a bunch of other releases this week as well, starting from maybe one which is not the package release but the script release. Script.io received a new great Umbraco 8 website with some of the upgrades and authors page, and that's something what caught my attention during the week. How many great authors were there? We've been highlighting some of the pictures from Code Garden in one of the past episodes, but here we can see all of the authors, how many articles they wrote for the script, and yeah, let's keep this list growing.
I noticed Anders Bjarne has done 6, which seemed. I'm sorry, Tim Payne's done 7. So there seems to be a little bit of a kind of a league going on now.
But they are not ordered by the amount of articles being written, because it's not about the numbers and stats. It's about contributions. So, and in the role of script ambassadors, we again encourage everyone to submit their ideas and help script having another great pieces of content highlighted and shared on the magazine level. And yeah, what else we have on list? We have a lot of packages upgrades. We've mentioned Vendor, and Vendor released a patch upgrade for 1.2, fixing some of the errors with the order process, if I'm remembering correctly. So if you are running on vendor 1.2, 2.3 or 1.4, feel free to upgrade. This is fixing your issues. Other releases. Speaking about vendor, another great video from Paul. This time, PayPal payment provider being integrated with vendor. So yeah, I'm counting down to spend some time in front of those videos at some point to understand how to integrate the vendor side. But Phil, you are probably ahead of time if you played around with vendor recently.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I spent the last 2 days, basically some of the weekend, and then a couple of days playing around with it. And yeah, it's really well architected under the hood, and it's quite simple to use. So that's and the demo site is set up really well to make it easy to work out. So yeah, really great.
Another one was from another big package, Marketing Suite, new release. And also Jeffrey was sharing during the week some details about bot tracking and bot activities. That was something really cool to see. So for people who are using Marketing Suite already in the wild, there is a new version of it.
I'm talking of Marketing Suite. So one of the things that I'm thinking of doing, or I want to speak to Jeffrey about this, is being able to do A/B testing by block. Nice. So because we have control of the full flow through of blocks as they get generated, so it means that we can swap out a block dependent on an A/B test, and I can externalize that process, which would be really cool to be able to do.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I didn't see it before, but there is a really nice blog post highlighting all of those upgrades and features being introduced in this version with some GDPR adjustments and also discounts being extended. That's good to see. It will be all linked down below our video, so feel free to explore. And Richard Soderman also introduced the V4 of CMS import, which will be released early August. So yeah, if anyone is using this package, and I know a lot of people is, there will be a new version of it coming out. There is a copy of UMAGANAF package, Callum, from your side, released as a NuGet package for V8, and there is a NuGet on Aaron's account here, plus a bunch of releases from Skybrad, Link Picker,
Grid Data as well, and Elements. There was a few this week.
Yeah, and Anders keeps us busy tracking all of the releases and all of the announcements. So everything was released as a new upgrades, and everyone who is using them. I saw the Doctype grid editor being as well upgraded, and I need to upgrade it in my projects. That's the
I asked Anders to release that so that I could get user out of pre-release.
That's great. So yeah, great packages again and great updates. But something new on the map is the dashboard. The dashboard package, which was pretty popular in V7 installations from Marcus Johansson, finally got released into V8 and looks pretty slick and clean. And it gives a lot of insights about the recent activities for content editors and people who are logging into Umbraco. Really cool and popular package. And finally on V8. Big high five, Marcus. And Tim Gayson's released a new version of UE-O-Matic for V8 as well. So again, we can see more and more packages which were kind of popular, and I used UE-O-Matic a lot in my previous V7 packages, and right now it's for V8, so that's great. And we can see that ProWorks also helped a lot with the tweaks and bug fixes on the way. I can't wait to upgrade my projects from V7 to V8 and use this new version of it. So that's from the release perspectives. I don't know if we've missed something else, but yeah, again, a lot of new and old packages being updated for V8.
Yeah, busy week, and it was only maybe a month ago, that we were struggling with package releases and stuff to talk about. And last week we only spoke about brand new on the market releases, and this week there just seems to be more and more goodness. So yeah, people have clearly been busy over lockdown.
Yeah, great to see a lot of events again being announced or coming next to highlight some of the great works. And Callum, you are going to perform a talk during the great lineup again in Edinburgh Meetup, virtual Meetup.
Yeah, a mysterious talk, but this will also be in relation to some new packages. So I've been working on, for a client, a lot of quite in-depth search functionality, and I've bundled all of that up into a nice friendly search package. Cool. And also done some more advanced stuff like faceting with Examine, and I'm going to be releasing that. So I'll be talking about those on Tuesday's virtual Edinburgh Meetup.
That's nice. And Owen will be talking about Uno, and that's a good segue to his blog post this week, because he wrote a really nice first glance summary of Umbraco Uno, helping understand it better for everyone who wants to just read about it, maybe in opposite to running a free trial, which is still available. It's 14 days for everyone who wants to trial the Uno. A great blog post highlighting what's there, what's the Uno is in general, and some thoughts and opinions about when and how it can be used. Plus, also on Owen's blog, there was a new blog from the Community Corner, and this time the interview with Christopher Sandberg. So again, a new community member asked about some of the questions, not directly related with Umbraco only. So if we want to know each other better, that's a great way to do that. Speaking about getting to know each other better, there is a new episode from Candid Contributions as well. So again, Callum, not very, very busy week. When it was released 3 days ago.
Tuesday, this one. This was a really important episode. They were talking about a lot of the stuff going on in the world at the minute with rights issues and a whole bunch of stuff. And very insightful, actually. So it's worth a listen.
Yeah, I will leave it on my tabs open to listen to it today. And we had some other blog posts gathered. One of them was for a really beginners, Umbraco beginners. I presume that Owens was the one who shared it on Twitter. It was about setting up the models builder for Umbraco V8. And even if it might be something really obvious for some of us who are doing it in various projects already, it's not that obvious for someone who is doing it for the first time. So it's great to see posts like that as well in the wild to help people start doing it and using strongly typed models. And something what I spotted is my Umbraco Adventures blog, and a really nice blog post from Jeron about remote debugging Umbraco on Azure Web Apps. So really, really great summary. I've done it. I know how helpful it can be to remote debug Azure applications, and when it's really a lifesaver. So if you want to do something like that and have a really nice write-up how to do it, it's there. And that's from the blog post perspectives. And last but not least, I wanted to highlight one publication which I spotted on the web, and I can't wait until it will be shipped to Poland. It was shared by Scott Hanselman, and it's written by Nadia, and it's titled "Working in Public: The Making of and Maintenance of Open Source Software." And I saw a lot of great discussions on Twitter on the thread about this book, how it can help for the project maintainers, for the developers who are contributing and working with open source software. And obviously, we are in the open source community, so we have a lot to learn as well about how to do something better, and maybe in the other ways that we were doing it in the community. So I can't wait to read it, and I will definitely share more if someone is interested. I saw that Ismail, for example, pre-ordered the Kindle already. If you are curious and you like to read books, that's something for us to understand open source maybe better than we know it right now. And that's probably all from our list. I don't know, Callum, if there's anything what I missed.
All. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, so of course, as usual, we will put links down below underneath the video if you don't want to search for them by yourself. Ravi said something about contentment from Lee Kelleher.
Last week, yeah.
Yes.
Because Lee released a beta over that last week, and we spoke about it.
But speaking about contentment, there was one message which I spotted today. That was something that scanned through the branches on the GitHub repository and the contentment to see where it's all going, and that it's not what it is just right now, but it's a lot of work placed from Lee's side to make something which will be released next time. And Lee is waiting for 8.7 to adjust some of the works with the new block structures and elements. So exciting times, and probably 8.7 is another big milestone for all of us.
Yeah.
And no one knows when it will be. So we will see, and definitely we'll highlight all of it when it will be released. So yeah, thanks Phil, and for showing the yuzu, and if you will have anything else to mention or append to the list of links, let us know. We'll update it and share it on our channels.
Yep. Thank you. Will do. Yep.
Yeah. So guys, thanks. Have a great rest of the day and amazing weekend ahead, and we will see each other next Friday.
Yes, we will.
As usual. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.